Okay, so we're going to talk about finding the vertex of quadratics of this form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Let's just jump right into it. So there are a couple of different ways that you can find the vertex, but in this video I want to tell you about the vertex formula. So this is obviously going to be then for a quadratic of the form, like I said, ax squared plus bx plus c. So we're talking about the vertex. This is either the highest or the lowest point of a parabola. So here's what that formula looks like. It looks a little strange. So this is actually a coordinate. So what you're going to do is you pick out the b and the a and you calculate negative b over 2a, and then you plug that into the equation. So this stands for a point. You might want to note that to yourself. So the vertex is a coordinate, and this is how you get to that. I think it's probably easiest if we just jump into an example. So let's start with 3x squared plus 6x plus 2. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is we want to identify what's in the A position, which is 3, and in the B position is a 6. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to calculate negative b over 2a. So if I plug that in, that becomes negative 6 over 2 times 3. So that becomes negative 6 over 6, so that equals negative 1. So that's the first part of our coordinate. And so if I go back to my formula, so we just calculated this part here. So now, and I know this part looks goofy, but like now what this is asking us to do is to now take that and plug it back into the quadratic. So in this context, I'm going to take negative 1 and just plug it back in. So I want to calculate f of negative 1. So that's going to be 3 times negative 1 plus 6 times negative 1 plus 2. And so that becomes 3 minus 6 plus 2. So that'll really turn into 5 minus 6. This equals negative 1. And so then my vertex in this case is negative 1 from this part here, and then negative 1 from the second part. And so that's really the idea behind this. So why don't you give this one a try? So just start by identifying your A and your B. And so let's identify what the A and the B is, and then you can calculate negative b over 2a. So try that on your own and hit play when you think you've got it. So in this case, my A is a negative 1, so I've got this negative in front here, so I'm going to just take the whole thing, and it's an implied negative 1, and then my B will be a 4. So in this case, this will become negative 4 over 2 times negative 1. So now I've got a negative and a negative, so those will cancel each other out. So I'm just left with 4 over 2, so this equals 2. So that's the first part of my vertex. And now I need to plug that back in. So why don't you finish this one and then hit play when you think you've found the vertex. Okay, so I want to plug in 2. So let's see. This becomes, so the one thing just to keep in mind here, this negative in front forces whatever this is to be negative. So this will become negative 4 plus 8 minus 2. I just mentioned that because I think the order of operations can be a little tricky here. So then I'm ultimately left with negative 6 plus 8, so this will equal 2. So once again, so just by happenstance, but 2, 2, so it's the same number again for the vertex. Doesn't always work like that, but it's working like that now. Okay, so we've got one more here, something just to keep you on your toes. We'd hate for you to get bored. So why don't you try this one? Just try to find the first part of the coordinate. Let's see how you do with that. You got to think a little bit with it. Give it a try. Hit play when you think you've got it. Okay, so my A in this case is negative 1/2, and my B is 3. So my negative b over 2a will be negative 3 over 2 times negative 1/2. And so now the negatives will cancel out. And I'm really just left with, well, what is 2 times 1/2? It's just 1. So this will just equal 3. Okay, cool. So now I've got to plug that back in. So strongly recommend that you try to finish this one totally on your own. Hit play when you think you've got it. Okay, so I'm going to plug 3 in. So let's see. This becomes negative 9 over 2. So 3 squared is 9, and then I'm just going to write it as a fraction. And then this will become plus 9 minus 1. So now what I need to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do negative 9/2 plus 8. Well, I want to write 8 as an equivalent fraction. So I know that this is technically an 8 over 1. I need a denominator of 2, so I'll multiply the top and bottom by 2 over 2. And let's see, I'll spill the calculation over here. So this becomes negative 9 over 2 plus 16 over 2. And so this is ultimately going to equal 7 over 2. And my work's getting a little cramped here, so I'll just make this nice and clear. So my vertex in this case will be 3 comma 7 over 2. Okay, and so that's really it. That's the idea. You just kind of follow that formula. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Ta-ta!